Hello, welcome to the channel once again. My name's Key James, a YouTuber and also a writer, self-published. Back in 2018, I decided to write a book. I'm not talking about writing a little journal, I'm talking about planning, writing, finishing and publishing a book all within 1 year. I did it. The result was this quite quirky collection of short stories called Dark Cloud by, yes, you can see it there, I think, Key James. Just there I am, Key James. This video will tell you how I wrote a book in 1 year and how you can do the very same thing. I wrote the book in 2018. This was a time before the pandemic, a time before working from home or time of isolation. I wrote the book while working a full-time job, while trying to have a social life, and it was very difficult, but doable. I'll tell you how I did it. One of the most important things about writing a book is not about the talent or the skill, it's actually about how much discipline you have. No one's going to be standing over you, making sure that you write and commit your deadline. It has to be something that you do. And you know, writing is one of those things that can feel really exciting in the first few weeks, maybe even the first month. You have all these ideas and you're putting it onto page and it's like you're writing an award-winning Booker Prize nominee. But then the low always sets in, the doubts start, and you realize that what you're writing is absolute trash. Disciplining yourself means that no matter how low you feel when you're writing, you will continue to push on. The idea was to write at least once a day. Now there are days where you only write a few sentences and days where you write loads of paragraphs, but the aim was at least to write 1,000 words a day. The target was to actually write something every day. And you have to do it no matter how low you feel. You also might want to kiss goodbye to your social life. I do remember on many occasions in the late stages of 2018 when the book was just nowhere near finished, and it meant that on Friday night you have to cancel seeing your friends for pizza, or you want to watch a movie and you want to relax, but actually no, writing the book is more important. It kind of worked for me because I didn't really have much of a social life anyway. Didn't have a lot of friends at the time, so I guess that was okay. I mean, look, the reality is if you do write 1,000 words a day, that means in a month you've got 30,000 words on average. 2 months, 60,000. 4 months, 120,000 words. And that's just from the habit of writing every day. I say that to make the discipline easier is to make it less of a thing you're consciously aware of. And by that what I mean is don't think to yourself every day, oh, I must write, I've got to write, oh, I must write. Just make it a habit. Make it something that you're not even thinking about, something that you're subconsciously doing as part of your day, as commonly as you brush your teeth. Confidence. This bit's always really difficult for a writer. Anyone I've ever known that writes, they always say to me, I do want to publish my work, but I'm just scared of what people might think. Forget it. In fact, what I would say is accept that you are a bad writer. Writing a book and looking back at the writing is a very difficult thing because sometimes you will write bad stuff. And it's really important that you know that. Sometimes you will have days, weeks, maybe even months where what you're writing is actually the worst thing you've ever written. And that's not being subjective. It may actually be the worst thing you've ever written. And it's really hard sometimes to look back on that writing, especially if it goes on for a month, and to say to yourself, I wrote that. Especially if you're a whiz kid and you grew up in high school with your parents telling you that you were a very special person and you could write really well, and suddenly you think to yourself, oh no, I've let everyone down. But writing a book is about confronting that. It's about confronting the worst parts of your writer's self and getting beyond that. There's also something else really important about writing really rubbish content. Sometimes you just have to do it. I wrote 40,000 words of rubbish when I was planning my stories. There were so many paragraphs that were kind of good, but they just deteriorate so quickly. And I ended up deleting 40,000 words from the final edit of my book. The 40,000 words were not completely wasted. They were the first conceptions of a scene I had, or the ideas of a character. It's only by looking back on those passages that I was able to understand that actually, well, this is how I need to improve on it. All those thousands of words didn't make sense in my brain. It's only when I put them on page that I could look at them and say, this doesn't make sense. Without those 40,000 words of rubbish, I wouldn't have got to the good stuff. Plan what you want. Now mine is a book of short stories. I love writing short stories. I think I love reading short stories, but I chose short stories for a reason. I like reading short stories. Research the theme. What do you want to write about? How do you want to write about it? So for me, I knew I wanted to write about technology and the adverse effects of social media. Dark Cloud, it's the name of a short story I wrote in this collection. Every day people vote for the weather. A large mechanical cloud floats across the sky and reacts to the popular vote. The cloud is supposed to be perfect. So why does it rain every day? There you are, I had one short story, but every short story follows a very similar kind of theme about technology, about social media. So I knew I had an outline of what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to create stories where social media is viewed in a not particularly great lens. I watched a few TV shows, I watched a few movies that I thought I want my stories to be like this. So I finally had an image of what I was ascribing to. Read a lot. Reading is really important when you're writing a book. If you don't read at all and you write a book, it will probably show. There's something about reading a book, be it fiction, non-fiction, even newspapers, magazines. There's something about reading that inspires you. Whenever you're reading a book, whenever you're reading an article, for example, the style of the other writer, it just familiarizes your mind with writing. In human evolution, we've only been reading and writing for the last few hundred years. So it's not the most natural thing for even the best of writers. Reading kind of makes our mind familiarize ourselves with the task of writing. It shows us how we put our thoughts onto the page. The grammatical style and how it appears on the page kind of reminds your brain of how to do the same thing. And it's not just about a technical grammatical point either. Reading a book also gives you ideas for your book. Be an entrepreneur. Now, if you're publishing with a publisher, this probably makes less sense for you, but if you are a self-publishing writer, as I was, then you're going to need to do more than just write the book. You're also going to need to get the cover. You will also need to find a way of publishing the book. I self-published via Amazon KDP. It was actually really simple. I'm happy to make another video for that if you are interested in it. Self-publishing is something that a lot of writers debate about in the writing industry. There's not a lot of money in it at all. There's not a lot of money in traditional writing, let alone self-publishing. But I chose to self-publish because it would give me my first bit of exposure with my writing. It would thrust my writing into the public realm. I didn't make this cover. I got in contact with someone I knew who was happy to design the cover for me. Networking is also really important, so networking with potential artists or people who can edit your book for you. I had friends that simply read through my book and corrected all of the typos and grammatical mistakes that I make, because there were a ton of them, and there still probably are. And finally, enjoy it. Writing can be a very difficult thing sometimes. When we watch movies or TV shows, the idea of a writer sitting on the cliff with a glass of wine, looking out to the red sunset and writing with a fountain pen, that's not what writing is about at all. Writing can be beautiful, it can be very passionate, but it's also very important to understand that writing is a job. It's a labor of the mind. The sooner you de-romanticize the beauty of writing, the more you'll actually get on with it. But that's not to say that you won't enjoy it. For me, writing a book was enjoyable. It was amazing to see my ideas come to life, to watch people read my stories and relate to it and interpret it in different ways. To hold this book and say, I wrote that. It's an amazing feeling. If you want to go and check the book out, it's on Amazon. You just type in Key James, Dark Cloud. It's a collection of short stories. You can read it on the Kindle and you can buy it in paperback as well. It was really fun to write. It's probably still got some typos and grammatical mistakes in there. It's probably not a perfect piece of work, but it's perfect to me. So there you are. If you want more information about how to self-publish, I can make a separate video about that one day. Or if you just have further questions relating to this video about how to write a book, do leave me a comment in the comment section and I will endeavour to answer your questions. That's it. Thank you for watching, and if you are writing, enjoy it. Thank you very much for listening. I'm Key James, and until next time, have a great week.